Why are close borders important? This question stirs a variety of emotions and opinions, and in this video, we will delve into the reasons and the impacts of such policies. In today's increasingly globalized world, the concept of border security has taken center stage in discussions on national policy. As we navigate this complex and sometimes contentious topic, we'll explore the multifaceted reasons behind the importance of maintaining close or secure borders by a nation. The first angle we'll examine is that of national security. It's no secret that a country's safety and security often hinge on its ability to control who and what crosses its borders. From curbing unauthorized entry to thwarting potential threats such as terrorism and smuggling, close borders play a pivotal role in safeguarding a nation's populace. Next, we'll delve into the economic implications of border policies. Whether it's regulating labor markets, managing resources, or protecting domestic industries from unfair competition, the economic stability of a country is often intertwined with its border policies. We'll also touch on public health, an aspect that has been thrust into the spotlight in the wake of global health crises. Controlled borders can be instrumental in managing and preventing the spread of contagious diseases, thereby protecting the health and well-being of a nation's citizens. The preservation of cultural identity and heritage is another facet of this discussion. In an age where cultural homogenization is a real concern, close borders can help maintain a nation's unique cultural heritage and values. Finally, we'll address the ethical and humanitarian considerations inherent in border policies. From the plight of refugees and asylum seekers to the principle of global cooperation, these issues challenge us to strike a balance between national interests and our shared humanity. So join us as we explore these angles and more in our deep dive into the importance of close borders in securing the future. Starting with national security, an aspect often associated with border control. As we navigate this complex issue, let's hear from an expert in the field, a seasoned security analyst. The analyst explains, controlled borders are an integral component of a nation's security strategy. Like a well-guarded house, a country with secure borders can better protect itself from potential threats. These threats are multifaceted, ranging from terrorism to smuggling and other illegal activities. Now let's take a closer look at these threats. Terrorism, a term that sends chills down our spines, is a global menace. By maintaining close borders, a nation can effectively monitor who enters and exits, thus making it harder for potential terrorists to infiltrate and carry out their nefarious plans. Smuggling is another concern. Whether it's drugs, weapons, or even human trafficking, smuggling operations can destabilize a nation from within. Close borders can act as a deterrent, making it more challenging for smugglers to operate. And then there's the issue of other illegal activities, such as unauthorized immigration. While every country understands the human desire for a better life, unchecked immigration can strain a nation's resources and security measures. Controlled borders allow countries to manage immigration in a more orderly, legal and fair manner. The security analyst further elaborates, while it's important to remember that most people crossing borders are not criminals or terrorists, having a secure border allows for the proper vetting of individuals, ensuring that those who pose a threat are identified before they enter. However, it's not just about keeping threats out. It's also about ensuring that those within the borders are safe and secure. This means having the ability to respond to internal threats swiftly and effectively. The analyst adds, a secure border also aids in law enforcement within the country. It allows for better tracking of criminal activities and offers a stronger line of defense against internal threats. As we've heard from our expert, border control goes beyond the physical act of guarding a country's geographical boundaries. It's about maintaining a secure environment where citizens can live without fear and where the rule of law is upheld. To round off this discussion, the analyst notes, close borders are not about creating barriers or promoting isolation. They're about regulating who comes in and out of a country, ensuring that it remains secure and stable. It's about protecting the nation and its citizens, both now and in the future. As we can see, national security is a significant factor in the border control debate. It's a matter of striking a delicate balance between maintaining security and upholding the principles of freedom, justice, and humanitarian values. In the end, the goal is to create a safer world, where nations can coexist peacefully, where borders, while necessary for security, are also symbols of respect, cooperation, and mutual understanding among nations. And with that, we wrap up our discussion on national security and border control. But remember, this is just one facet of a multifaceted issue. Stay tuned as we delve into the economic implications of border policies in our next segment. Moving to the economic implications of border control. The world we live in today is interconnected, making it a global village. While this interconnectivity brings numerous opportunities, it also presents several challenges, especially in the economic realm. One of the key economic aspects of border control lies in the ability to regulate labor markets. Imagine a country as a giant corporation. In any corporation, human resources play a pivotal role in the success or failure of the business. Similarly, in a country, the labor market is a critical component of the economy. By maintaining controlled borders, a country can manage the inflow and outflow of labor. It can ensure that there is a balance between the supply and demand of labor, which is crucial for maintaining wage stability and preventing job displacement. But it's not just about labor, it's also about resources. Every country has a certain set of resources: natural, financial, and human. Close borders allow a nation to manage these resources effectively. When borders are open, resources can flow out indiscriminately, potentially leading to resource depletion and economic instability. By controlling borders, a nation can prevent such unfettered outflow and ensure that its resources are used for the benefit of its own citizens. Moving on, let's talk about protecting domestic industries. We live in a world where competition is fierce. Domestic industries often face stiff competition from foreign counterparts that might have advantages in terms of cost, technology, or scale. This can lead to job losses and economic instability. Close borders can help protect domestic industries from such unfair competition. By controlling the entry of foreign goods and services, a nation can give its domestic industries a chance to grow and thrive. This can lead to job creation and economic prosperity. But it's not just about protection. It's also about fairness. Close borders enable a nation to enforce its trade laws and regulations. When goods and services cross borders, they should do so in a manner that respects the rules and regulations of the host country. This ensures that competition is fair and that domestic industries are not unfairly disadvantaged. Having said that, it's important to note that close borders do not mean closed economies. In fact, many of the world's most successful economies have close borders but open economies. They have found a balance between protecting their domestic interests and engaging in global trade. They have managed to maintain economic stability while also reaping the benefits of globalization. However, finding this balance is not easy. It requires careful planning and effective policy implementation. It requires a deep understanding of the complex dynamics of global trade and labor markets. It requires a commitment to fairness and justice, both for the country's own citizens and for the wider global community. In the end, the goal of border control is not to isolate a country from the rest of the world. Rather, it's to ensure that the country can engage with the world in a way that is beneficial and sustainable. It's about creating a win-win situation where both the country and the world at large can benefit. The economic stability of a nation, therefore, can be directly linked to its border policies. By controlling its borders, a nation can regulate its labor market, manage its resources, and protect its domestic industries. It can ensure economic stability for its citizens while also playing a constructive role in the global economy. It's a delicate balance, but one that is worth striving for. Public health, a critical aspect often overlooked in border control discussions. It's a subject that reaches into every corner of our lives, from the food we eat to the air we breathe, and yes, even to the borders we erect. But what role does border control play in safeguarding public health? Let's hear from a public health official to shed some light on this issue. According to our expert, controlled borders can be vital in managing and preventing the spread of contagious diseases. This might seem obvious in the theory, but it's often underappreciated in practice. When we think about border control, we usually associate it with keeping out physical threats, whether they be in the form of contraband or illegal entrance. But borders also serve as a first line of defense against invisible threats, such as viruses and bacteria that can cause widespread disease. Take, for example, the global health crises we've faced in the past. When a contagious disease breaks out, one of the first responses is often to limit travel to and from affected areas. It's a drastic measure, but it can be effective in slowing the spread of disease, buying valuable time for healthcare systems to prepare and respond. In such situations, having controlled borders can be a crucial tool in a country's public health strategy. Moreover, controlled borders allow for better disease surveillance. By monitoring who comes in and out of the country, health officials can track potential carriers of disease, implement necessary quarantines, and conduct contact tracing more effectively. This is not about casting blame on travelers or migrants, but about having the necessary data to respond swiftly and effectively to potential health threats. Of course, it's important to remember that border control is just one piece of the public health puzzle. It's not a solution in itself, but a tool that must be used in conjunction with robust healthcare infrastructure, sound public health policies, and international cooperation. After all, diseases do not respect borders, and no country can tackle a public health crisis alone. Additionally, while border control can play a part in managing health crises, it's also crucial that these measures are fair and humane. This means ensuring that people who need to cross borders for medical treatment or other urgent reasons can do so safely and legally. It also means treating everyone who crosses our borders with dignity and respect, regardless of their health status. In the end, the goal of border control, like all public health measures, is to protect and promote the health and well-being of people. It's about creating a safer, healthier world for all of us, no matter where we come from or where we're going. This is a goal that transcends national boundaries and political ideologies. It's a goal that we can all get behind. So, next time you hear about border control, remember that it's not just about security or economics. It's also about public health. It's about our ability to respond to health crises, to track and prevent disease, and to ensure the health and well-being of our communities. The importance of border control in public health is clear, particularly in times of global health crises. As we continue to navigate our interconnected world, let's keep this in mind, and let's work together to create policies that protect not just our borders, but our health as well. Now, let's look at the cultural implications of close borders. In a world that's growing increasingly interconnected, it's easy to overlook the role borders can play in preserving a nation's unique cultural heritage. As our guest today, a renowned cultural historian, will explain, close borders can serve as a sort of protective barrier, maintaining a nation's distinct cultural identity in the face of globalization. Imagine, if you will, a rich tapestry, woven with threads of history, traditions, language, art, and values. This tapestry is a nation's cultural heritage, something that sets it apart, makes it unique. It's a source of pride, a sense of identity, a bond that unites its people. But just as the threads in a tapestry can become frayed over time, so too can the elements of a culture. Globalization, with its relentless tide of homogenization, can sometimes wash over the unique colors of a culture, blurring its distinct patterns into a dull, uniform grey. This isn't to say that globalization is inherently bad. Indeed, it has brought about countless benefits, from technological advances to increased understanding between nations. However, the preservation of cultural diversity is equally important. Enter the concept of close borders. By maintaining controlled borders, a nation can regulate the flow of cultural influences, much like a dam controls the flow of water. This doesn't mean shutting out all foreign influences. Rather, it's about maintaining a balance. It's about allowing a nation to absorb new ideas and influences at its own pace, integrating them into its cultural fabric without losing its unique identity. Our cultural historian guest explains close borders can offer a measure of protection against the erasure of cultural identity. They can help maintain the diversity of the world's cultures, which is as important for the richness of human experience as biodiversity is for the health of the planet. It's worth noting that cultural preservation isn't about resisting change or clinging to the past. Cultures are living, evolving entities. They grow, adapt, and transform. The key is to manage this change in a way that respects and preserves a culture's core identity. Close borders, in this context, can serve as a tool for cultural preservation. They can help a nation manage the influences of globalization, ensuring that its culture evolves in a way that respects its history and values. This can be particularly important for smaller nations or indigenous communities whose voices can easily be drowned out in the clamor of global culture. Of course, the issue of cultural preservation goes beyond borders. It's also about education, about instilling a sense of pride and respect for one's culture, about celebrating diversity and promoting understanding. It's a complex, multifaceted issue that requires thoughtful, nuanced solutions. In conclusion, the role of close borders in cultural preservation is a significant one. While they are not the only solution, they can serve as an important tool in a nation's cultural preservation toolkit. By controlling the flow of cultural influences, they can help ensure that a culture evolves at its own pace, in its own way, retaining its unique identity amid the waves of globalization. Close borders, therefore, can play a role in preserving a nation's cultural identity. Lastly, we will address the ethical and humanitarian issues related to border policies. This is a conversation that is as crucial as it is sensitive, and it is one that we cannot afford to gloss over. When we talk about secure borders, it isn't just about national security, economic stability, public health, or cultural preservation. It is also about people who are displaced, people who are seeking better lives, people who are in desperate need. In the grand scheme of things, borders are lines drawn on a map, but for millions of people around the world, these lines can mean the difference between safety and danger, prosperity and poverty, life and death. They impact people's lives in profound and often heartbreaking ways. Now, this isn't to say that nations don't have the right to protect their borders. Every country has the responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens. But it's also important to remember that we live in an interconnected world. What happens in one part of the globe can have ripple effects across oceans and continents. And in this global village of ours, compassion, empathy, and solidarity matter. Let's hear from a human rights advocate who can shed more light on this issue. The advocate says when we talk about border control, we're essentially talking about people control. Who gets to come in, who doesn't, under what circumstances, and why? These are questions that have far-reaching implications for human rights and dignity. It's easy to forget that behind every statistic, every policy, every news headline, there are real people with real stories. Refugees fleeing war and persecution, immigrants seeking better opportunities, families torn apart by borders. These are the human faces of border control. And while it's important to address issues like national security and economic stability, it's equally, if not more important, to ensure that our border policies are compassionate and fair. This means treating every individual with dignity and respect, regardless of their immigration status. It means providing asylum seekers with due process and access to legal representation. It means not separating children from their parents at the border. It means treating people as people, not as threats or numbers. Striking a balance between national interests and global humanity is no easy task. It requires thoughtful dialogue, informed decision-making, and a commitment to human rights. But it's a task that we must undertake for the sake of our shared future. Indeed, the balance between national interests and global humanity is a complex but essential aspect of the border control debate. As we grapple with these ethical and humanitarian considerations, let's remember that our decisions have real-world consequences. They shape lives, communities, and nations, and ultimately they reflect who we are as a society and what we stand for. So let's strive for border policies that are not only effective and strategic, but also humane and just. Let's strive for policies that uphold our shared values of dignity, respect, and compassion. And let's strive for a world where borders, while necessary, are also bridges to understanding, cooperation and peace. The debate on close borders is multifaceted, touching on security, economy, health, culture and ethics. We've journeyed through the complex labyrinth of border controllers, peeling back the layers of this intricate issue. From the perspective of national security, we've seen how regulated borders can be a safeguard, a first line of defense against potential threats. These threats range from terrorism to smuggling, and maintaining controlled borders can be key in preventing unauthorized entry. Then we shifted our lens to the economic implications, where border policies can have a profound impact. They allow a nation to regulate its labor market, manage resources, and shield domestic industries from unfair competition. In essence, they can contribute to overall economic stability. In the realm of public health, especially during times of health crises like pandemics, we've discovered how crucial controlled borders can be. They serve as a checkpoint, a measure to manage and prevent the widespread transmission of contagious diseases. We also explored the role of borders in cultural preservation. While cultural exchange is indeed enriching, close borders can help maintain a nation's unique cultural heritage and values in the face of rapid globalization. However, let's not forget the ethical and humanitarian considerations. Despite the arguments in favor of close borders, we must also acknowledge the ethical implications, including the impact on refugees and asylum seekers, and the principle of global cooperation. It's a delicate balance that must be struck, one that respects human rights and dignity while addressing national concerns. Compassionate and fair border policies are not just desirable, they are essential. In conclusion, the debate on close borders is not black and white. It's a myriad of greys, a spectrum of considerations and priorities. It's about security, yes, but it's also about economic stability, public health, cultural preservation, and ethical responsibility. It's about finding that delicate equilibrium between protecting national interests and upholding our shared global humanity. Securing the future, the importance of close borders challenges us to think critically about these issues and their far-reaching implications. The conversation doesn't end here. It's a continuous dialogue, one that requires empathy, intellect, and foresight. It's a challenge to us all, to policymakers and citizens alike, to strive for that balance, to secure not just our borders, but our future. Thank you for joining us.